Hello everyone, and welcome back to Garry on Lockdown. You will be happy to know that my topic today is you. That is the public and public opinion, and how to measure it and change it. Of course, every politician, every business wants to change public opinion. Vote for me, buy these shoes, eat at this restaurant, watch this movie. It is all advertising and public opinion. But what about more serious messages like don't join a violent conspiracy, or don't fall for foreign propaganda, or please take this life-saving medicine? When the health of our society or the health of our bodies depends on changing public attitudes, it's a real challenge. The internet has made it much easier to reach people and for people to communicate with each other directly. But it has also made it easier for people to shut themselves away from the wider world of information. They create information silos when they choose their news sources. They only see stories posted by their friends and others who share their beliefs. This tends to push people toward more extreme positions. It can also make it harder to change people's minds. As I wrote in my recent Avast blog post, online tribes can form very strong bonds quickly. Instead of tribes based on ethnicity or geography or religion, these tribes are based on political affiliations or specific beliefs. They can also form across national lines and political lines, and are very vulnerable to manipulation by hostile actors. The basis for many of these groups is false information or misinformation. They believe that the real truth about something is being hidden, and only their tribe knows the real facts. This is the heart of every conspiracy theory. This is a serious security problem on every level. If people don't even agree on what is true, how can we agree on what is good and what is necessary to fix our problems? Can the cause of our problems also be the solution? Can we use technology to reach people who are increasingly isolated and radicalized by technology, when lives depend on it, as with vaccine denial? How do we break through these tribes from the outside? To help us figure this out, my special guest this week is Frank Luntz, a true master of discovering and influencing public opinion, a renowned political pollster. His recent focus group addressed this exact issue: how to change the minds of American vaccine skeptics. And I think it has bigger lessons for us all, about how to educate and relate to people who have become cut off into a tribe with dangerous beliefs. Welcome, Frank, to the Garry on Lockdown tribe. So again, thank you very much for joining me on Garry on Lockdown. And so first, tell us about your latest focus group you did with vaccine skeptics. That's the big topic today. And also give us a little bit of a background, so how you find these people, how you your team selected these people. So, and bring us behind the curtain of this fascinating world and this specific occasion.
Well, the curtain's pretty large because we now have a panel of over 2 million people that we can draw from. And so if you ask me, I need to have first-time voters, or I want to have people who work in teaching, or those who live in Massachusetts, I can find anything you're looking for in a matter of moments. I can convene a group of 15 to 20 people based on virtually any demographic, geographic, or attitude because of this 2 million person panel. We even do stuff globally. Within the last 2 weeks, I held a student focus group that I brought onto TV that consisted of 20 students from 18 different countries. And that's remarkable as well, as you listen to different cultures and different political systems collide, and how they cooperate in some things and they argue on others. So the focus group is a wonderful tool to be able to listen and learn how people really think, what motivates them, their passions and their commitments. And I did it for Trump voters in the vaccine because no other segment of the American population is less likely to be vaccinated than Trump voters. And to be specific, younger Trump voters between the ages of 18 and 49. They don't trust the government. They don't trust the vaccine. They are more likely to get the information from the web, which means it can be wrong from time to time. And they simply are rejecting of that kind of personal responsibility. And it's frightening to me. I understand. And in some ways, I reflect their hesitations and their concerns about the government. But they are risking everybody's health by their decisions not to do this. And so my job, my role has been to figure out the language and the messaging to convince them, and I have to do it face-to-face on Zoom, to convince them that the vaccine is less dangerous than COVID itself.
So were you surprised by the results?
I was surprised by their unwillingness to listen to the unwillingness to believe what they're hearing, even from Donald Trump. I wasn't surprised at their skepticism because they deserve it. Frankly, this current government hasn't done enough to credit the previous government in Operation Warp Speed, hasn't done enough in welcoming the previous government in suggesting that being vaccinated is essential, and has done everything it could to minimize the accomplishments of the previous government. But that's what happens between Trump voters and Biden voters, is that they minimize each other, they disrespect each other, they delegitimize each other. And that's been a problem in American politics. I don't think we've ever been so divided, and we've certainly never been so divided on science, on health, and on COVID.
Yeah, wait, but this is, again, you're talking about division, but naturally we have political divisions. People can agree or disagree on, I don't know, just, this is the tons of things, but this is science. So, and these people, they didn't sound fanatical to me. So so how can we, build this communication bridge? Because, if we disagree on some fundamental things, how can we look for big solutions for even bigger problems?
Well, first and foremost, the spokesperson has to be trusted. And Garry, now that I think about it, you're a pretty well-known individual. When you did one of these Zoom calls with me, we had the third most participants of any that I've done. And I've done now about 40 of them, because people wanted to hear what you had to say, and they'll trust you. So I'm actually going to suggest that you could be one of the spokespeople. Second is that it really does have to come from medicine, that even more than scientists, their own doctor, they trust more than anyone else. We asked in a survey question, who do you trust getting the vaccine, Donald Trump or your own doctor? It was 85 to 15, your own doctor. So we need them to make videos such as this. They only need to last 1 minute. And then they send it to all their patients saying, look, you trust me to keep you vaccinated from the flu. You trust me to keep you healthy from other diseases. You trust me to help you get well again. Trust me, take the vaccine. If it comes from their own doctor, it's going to have influence. And there's two statistics that matter more than any other. The first is that as effective as the flu vaccine is, the COVID vaccine is at 90%, above 90%. The flu vaccine is only at 60%. So it's 50% more effective than the flu vaccine. That's a big deal. And when given the option to take the vaccine, over 90% of doctors have done it. Those are the two key statistics. So that's the right message, and your doctor is the right spokesperson.
So that sounds to me like good news. So people can be convinced to do whatever they're told by their doctors, in this case, to be vaccinated, even if they hear the opposite message from their political guru and idol. Is it correct?
Well, the good news is that Trump is saying take the vaccine, but he's saying much more that the election was stolen and that he was robbed and that Joe Biden is the illegitimate president. He delivers that message 10 times more than he does get the vaccine. And in fact, the first time that he ever said so publicly was just a week ago. And he did so clearly, capably, but he needs to do it more and more.
But how these messages are communicating? This is the big lie about elections and vaccine.
Well, they're communicated through chat rooms like this. They're communicated through, they used to be communicated through Twitter. And I'd be interested, I know that I'm the one who's supposed to answer the questions, but I'd ask you one question, just one. Twitter threw Donald Trump off because it determined after doing studies that Trump was inciting people, was not just sharing false information, but it was actually inciting people in a way that was dangerous to public security. I know how much you believe in freedom of speech. I know how much you believe in the tenets of personal responsibility and the freedom to say what you believe. Garry, did Twitter make the wrong decision by throwing Donald Trump off?
No, right decision. I publicly said right decision. It's not an easy choice. This is a choice between two evils. I think it was a lesser evil. And it's not just, what Trump said and tweeted about events prior to January 6th, but it's a whole story. I mean, you look at the case, and it's not just evidence for this specific day, but also it's an evidence allocated throughout 4 years, and I believe that it was a tough call, but the right call. But my problem is not Twitter banning Donald Trump. I'm afraid that it could spread out because we don't have yet any mechanisms to regulate this process, and we can easily turn the power of tech giants into a censorship tool. And I wrote a lot about it. I've been communicating to my audience in Avast, through our blog, and I understand that's a big question, mainly for America, but also for the rest of the world. So where is this line, the red line? So how can we stay on the right side of this equation and not to cross it, to cross this bridge, and even worse, to blow up this bridge? I don't have an answer yet, and my only recommendation is just we need to lower temperature and to make people agree on something. So to buy time to find the right balance in this triangle between the government, tech giants, and the public.
Well, let's expand it further, because this broaches on the issue of cancel culture, which is absolutely real, absolutely alive, and I think one of the greatest dangers to American society and to freedoms of any of the threats that are facing the US right now. It's happening in academia, it's happening in the media, and it's happening in entertainment. These are the three professions that determine how we think, that provide us the information either when we're young, that sets a framework for the rest of our lives, or as adults, it's a framework for how we live, or entertains us in that period when we're not working or sleeping. We have seen it in Hollywood now for 20 years, and it's amazing to me that it's the same practice that we saw 60, 70 years ago when we had that horrible blacklisting, when it was done by the right against the left, and it was a really bad history for America, a bad point in history, and now it's happening by the left against the right. The people whose parents were blacklisted are now blacklisting themselves. If you dare say something nice about Donald Trump. It exists in the media. We've seen this in the New York Times, in the Washington Post, and the LA Times. Newsrooms that are being essentially set on fire intellectually. God forbid if you take a centrist approach, not only will you be criticized publicly, but you'll be fired. And we've watched people lose their jobs on the editorial page. We've watched them lose their jobs as reporters. I got one for you, and it's happening right now. The new editor of Teen Vogue, she's 29 years old, an African-American woman.
Yeah, I know the story. I know the story. I'm following the stories. Yeah, but it's now cancel culture is eating itself because it's just people who demanded her resignation. Now they are also under fire. It's a never-ending process, and you don't have to educate me. I was born and raised in the Soviet Union. I know how it worked in my country. I know how the books have been heavily edited and names been erased. And even these days, my name has been erased from a sport club I belong since 1976. And when this sport club Spartak celebrated its 80th birthday in 2015, so my name has mysteriously disappeared. But let's go back to internet, because it's the cancel culture as a phenomena. It's also result of these tribal politics of this new technology, and that's kind of a paradox. It's a sad paradox that the internet was supposed to shine light everywhere and to spread information instantly, but now we have conspiracy groups and also dictatorships, and it's being used here and there, time and again, to hide the truth. So how much do you think the technology, and especially social media, has to do with this, tribes becoming more common? And because now they can find each other easily, and sometimes secretly, sometimes they do it in public. But it's like the zones that the bubbles that they create on the internet, and they have very little communication. And the moment you are going against an opinion that dominated one of these bubbles, you could be attacked anonymously by the crowd, by the flock of predators.
Well, it's first off, I never, ever, ever would educate you. I might educate your viewers, but I'm not going to educate you. And it's the reason why I wanted to do this. It's that every time I get a chance to be side by side with you, even if I have to work, I'm going to do it. Because Garry, when you tell me something, I know it's true. And when you advise me something, I know it needs to get done. And this division now, and I've studied this, has never been this great. And social media is the reason why it's happening. On television, you could narrowcast a message to about 65%, but still 35% of the audience will be from a different group that you may not want to reach. Then when we moved to talk radio, it became a 75-25 or 80-20 situation. And then when we moved to cable, with specific cable channels like Fox, MSNBC, and CNN, it's actually 90-10. 90% of Fox viewers are Republicans, 90% of CNN and MSNBC viewers are Democrats. But when we go to the web, we go to websites, it's 95-5, 98-2. And that's because on the web, people get their information not to inform them, but to affirm them. It's a deliberate self-selection. And so we don't even share the same opinions. It's deeper. It's that we don't even share the same facts. We don't share the same reality. So if you're on one website and you're watching a description of an event such as January 6th, it is completely different than what you would get on another website, and that's by design. You are encouraged to stay with your point of view, and on things like YouTube, which I find very addictive, and I love YouTube, and I'll watch maybe 30 minutes of it a day, but they encourage you to watch a video that's even more extreme than the one that you just watched. It's the algorithms. And the algorithms ensure that you stay on your side of the fence, and you never, not only do you not cross over, but you don't even get to see what's on the other side of the fence. If I can do a physical analogy, it's like Berlin after the wall went up. The East Germans, the East Berlin, did everything they could to block television from West Berlin, but it still got in. And you could still see what was happening on the other side of the wall. You still knew the truth, even though every night you were being fed East German propaganda. On the web, you don't get that. You don't get any bleed over. So you are absolutely convinced of your reality. And I'm going to give you a polling example. Over 40% of Trump voters are absolutely, positively convinced that Donald Trump won the election, that it was stolen in Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. And it wasn't. If you go back to the year 2000, George W. Bush beat Al Gore by 500 votes in Florida.
Yeah.
And there was still doubt about 500 votes. There isn't doubt about 11,000 votes in Georgia. There isn't doubt about 100,000 votes in Pennsylvania. But to almost half of every Trump voter, almost half of them, they fundamentally believe, and they'll make the case, that Donald Trump has robbed the election. So that's the problem now. The extent is greater, the divide is greater, it's deeper, it's more passionate, and the results we all saw with our own eyes on January 6th.
Okay, so that's quite a bleak picture, I have to say. Not that I disagree with you, but the very natural and the last question. So are you optimistic? Because it seems that it's a race against time. If we do nothing and the emotions will prevail, we will have many more January 6th, because elections could go one way or another. And I believe that on the other side, there will be a lot of people also thinking about voter suppression and other things that, that could potentially steal victory from a Democrat in 2024. So any chance that America will, as it happened, you mentioned Senator McCarthy, as it happened 70 years ago, does America have strengths, devotion to democracy and to fundamental principles it was built on, to go back to center, or the divide will grow?
I don't know. I don't know what answer you want to give me. I don't know if you
No, I
want
just
to.
want what the opinion. It's not about answer. It could be good, bad, neutral. But are you optimistic? Do you believe that America is still capable to recover from this great divide?
Are we capable? Yes. Are we likely to?
Will it?
No. And let me explain why. You have to want to recover. You have to want to hear the other side. You have to be sufficiently open-minded and willing to say, look, I think you're wrong. I know you're wrong, but I still want to hear what you have to say. Part of the cancel culture is to delegitimize and even further dehumanize the opposition so that they don't exist and we don't desire to know them. I know that your system of government fell, and it voluntarily dismantled itself under the last dying days of the Gorbachev administration. And I know that you had levels of openness, but it only lasted a few years. I know that it can happen, but the likelihood of it happening is so minimal because this technology is so pervasive and so deeply entwined in our heads because of divisions. Now, we don't just believe that the other side is wrong and we're right. That I could get over. We believe that the other side is evil, and only for us being willing to take up and fight, we would destroy the country. And third, we're being taught this every day in those mind-affecting professions, that you're right and the other side is wrong. Because of those three attributes, I don't know how we recover. I know we got to, and we have a president who says he cares about unity. How many Republicans are in his cabinet? Zero. How many Republicans advise him on a daily basis? Zero. Even under Bill Clinton, under George W. Bush, under Barack Obama, there was a Democrat or a Republican in every administration. A tiny amount of bipartisanship, but at least it was there. We have none of it right now. So every element that could fix this is designed to keep it broken. And so I'm not optimistic about the future.
So, okay, I hate, ending up our conversation on this pessimistic note. it seems that there is a real risk that technology that has been invented, manufactured, distributed in the free world could be well digging the graveyard for our freedom. That's your message. And the only solution, I'm still trying to be optimistic. It's to wake up for people who don't want to hear the other side. Basically, it's your message to the public. Wake up, stop doing these things to those who disagree with you, and be ready to debate, to open up, and even if you disagree, don't throw these people into oblivion. Yes.
Yeah, but the problem is, how do you do it? How can you do it quickly enough so we don't have what we've got right now? I know what you went through. I know what colleagues of yours that preceded you went through. How many decades did you not have this opportunity in the old Soviet Union? How many decades of oppression and denial of freedom of speech that people go through? How many, and we see this right now in Eastern Europe. We see this in some countries in Asia. We thought China was going to modernize. We're going to bring in a Western style economy, which will automatically yield to a Western style media, a Western style relaxation of political controls. And it's actually been exactly the opposite. Garry, all across the globe, I think that freedom is not on the march. I think that freedom is on the run. And only because of activists like you do we even have a chance. But I think you're being overrun. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. Look, we do what we can. So I'm now working with many dissidents around the world on a letter reminding Americans about precious freedom, about America's founding values, and about the danger of throwing them away for some illusionary political gains. Anyway, Frank, thank you very much. I think it was very, educational for our audience. Actually, it's educational for anybody because you have unique access, unique experience, and you're a great analyst. Just you know how to put these things together, and to tell us, who we are. Basically, you hold a mirror, and not that we like what is in the mirror, but someone has to do it for us. Thank you very much.